You did it. You climbed the mountain. You built the thing. You hit the number. You got the title. You won. The applause fades. The congratulations stop filling your inbox. The crowd goes home. And you are left. In a room that is too quiet. With a trophy that feels cold in your hands. And a question, hanging in the air, so heavy it threatens to pull the ceiling down. Is this it? This is the secret no one talks about at the graduation, in the boardroom, at the award ceremony. This is the hidden tax on every dream you ever chased. It has a name, but we are too ashamed to speak it. So we dress it in silence. We call it stress, we call it needing a vacation, we call it imposter syndrome. But its real name is success loneliness. It is the profound, isolating emptiness that arrives not in failure, but in victory. It's the hollow echo in the chamber of your greatest achievement. And you are not broken for feeling it. You are not ungrateful. You are human. And you have arrived at a hidden chapter of the human experience that the motivational posters and the hustle culture gurus never warned you about. Because they were too busy selling you the climb to tell you about the view from the summit. The view that can be breathtakingly lonely. We are born into a narrative. A story sold to us from our first breath. It's a simple story. A linear story. Its plot is, struggle leads to success leads to satisfaction. We see it everywhere. The montage. The hero trains, suffers, overcomes, and crosses the finish line to the roar of the crowd. Freeze frame. Smile. Roll credits. The story ends there. Because the story is a lie. A beautiful, motivating, necessary lie, but a lie nonetheless. It lies by omission. It sells you the ticket to the destination, but never shows you the landscape. It never tells you that the soil at the summit is thin, that the air is rarefied, that the weather is unpredictable. It never tells you that when you get everything you thought you wanted, you will have to face yourself. Without the disguise of the struggle. Without the familiar identity of the striver, the underdog, the hungry one. That identity was a suit of armor. It protected you. It gave you purpose. It had an enemy, the obstacle. Now the obstacle is gone. And you are left, standing there, wondering why the armor feels so heavy, why it's suddenly crushing you, instead of protecting you. This is the first layer of success loneliness, the identity crisis of arrival. For years, maybe decades, you were your ambition. Your email signature, your job title, your goal weight, your revenue target. Your conversations were about the grind. Your friendships were forged in the fire of shared struggle. Your sense of self was built on the foundation of not yet. Then, yet happens. And the foundation vanishes. Who are you when you are no longer chasing? Who are you when the thing you whispered to yourself in the dark, I will make it, has been achieved? You are a sailor who has spent a lifetime battling a storm, only to wake up to a dead, flat, endless calm. The struggle was your compass. The wind was your opponent, but also your companion. Now, in the silence, you miss the storm. And so, in this quiet, the questions start their siege. Was it worth it? Did I sacrifice the right things? Why do I feel so empty when I should be full? And the most dangerous question of all, now what? This now what is a chasm. And into this chasm, loneliness pours. Because you look around for someone to share this with, and you see no one. The people who are still in the struggle? They see your summit. They see the flag you planted. They don't see the barren rock beneath your feet. To them, you are a symbol of hope, or worse, a source of envy. You cannot tell them you're lonely. It would sound like a boast. It would sound ungrateful. So you bite your tongue. You post the polished photo. You say, "Thank you, so blessed." And the loneliness grows. Then you look for the others, the ones who are also on a summit. And you find them. And sometimes it's worse. You meet in glass-walled penthouses or on curated social media feeds, and you talk about valuations and markets and the next acquisition. It's transactional. It's a comparison of peaks. It is loneliness wearing a tailored suit. It is a connection that never touches the soul. This is the second layer, the relational desert. But here is where we make the critical error. The human error. We assume this loneliness is a mistake. A flaw in the plan. We think, I must have taken a wrong turn. True success shouldn't feel like this. So we panic. And in our panic, we do the only thing we know how to do. We try to climb another mountain. We set a bigger goal. A louder target. We think the loneliness is because this mountain wasn't high enough. So we launch the new product, we aim for the next title, and we buy a bigger house. We plunge back into the struggle, into the familiar, comforting noise of ambition, to escape the silence of achievement. It works. For a while. The loneliness recedes. The old identity of the striver fits again, like worn-in boots. You feel purpose. You feel alive. But, you know how this story ends. You will reach that summit, too. And the silence will be waiting for you. Louder. Deeper. More profound. Because you didn't solve the loneliness. You outran it. You treated the symptom and ignored the cause. And in doing so you condemned yourself to a cycle. Summit, silence, panic, new climb. An endless, exhausting loop. A hamster wheel of achievement. This is the trap. This is the hidden prison of high performers. Success loneliness is not asking you to achieve more. It is asking you to become different. So if running from it only deepens it, what is the alternative? The alternative is to turn around. To face it. To sit down in the middle of that empty summit and listen. What if the loneliness is not a punishment, but an invitation? What if it's not a hole in your life, but a space that has been created, cleared out, like a construction site after the old building has been demolished? It's dusty, it's empty, it's chaotic. It's not a comfortable place to live, but it is not meant to be lived in. It is a transitional space. It is the space where what you are makes room for what you are meant to become. Success loneliness is the sound of your old self dissolving. Think of a caterpillar. Its entire existence is defined by the crawl, the consumption, the struggle to move from leaf to leaf. Then, it forms a chrysalis. And inside that chrysalis, it dissolves. It becomes a soupy, formless liquid. No eyes, no legs, no identity as a caterpillar. It is, in a biological sense, lonely for its old form. It is in a void. But that void is not the end. It is the necessary precondition for the wings. Your success has triggered your chrysalis. The loneliness you feel is the dissolution of your caterpillar self, the striving, goal-oriented, external validation-seeking identity. It is uncomfortable. It is terrifying. It feels like dying. Because it is a kind of death. But here is the truth no one tells you. You cannot take your caterpillar consciousness into your butterfly existence. The tools that got you here, the relentless drive, the external goalposts, the scarcity mindset, the defiance, are now too heavy. They are caterpillar legs. You are trying to use them to fly, and you are confused as to why you feel clumsy, why you're crashing into things, why it's so exhausting. Loneliness is the feeling of those old tools becoming obsolete in your hands. So we arrive at the core, the heart of the matter. Success loneliness is a signal that your development is incomplete. You have mastered the first half of the hero's journey, the external conquest. But the second half, the internal conquest, the journey of meaning, integration, and service, that journey has remained a rumor, a footnote. Until now. Now, it is knocking. And its knock sounds like loneliness. It's time to answer. We will now walk through 5 principles. 5 understandings. Not quick fixes, but profound shifts in perception. These are the maps for the uncharted territory you find yourself in. Lesson 1. Redefine your why from acquisition to contribution. For the longest time, your why was a target. I want to acquire X. I want to achieve Y. I want to become Z. It was a why of inward motion. Pulling value, status, security towards yourself. Loneliness is the inevitable result of an inward-facing why. Because once you've pulled everything in, you are left alone in a room full of stuff. The transformation begins when you flip the direction of your why. Your new why must be one of outward motion, of contribution, of expression, of service. This is not a moral commandment. It is a psychological and spiritual necessity. Water that only flows in becomes stagnant. The same is true of human energy. Ask yourself now, my skills, my resources, my platform, my wisdom. Now that I have them, who needs them? Not in a grandiose, save the world sense. in a specific, human sense. Who is one version of your former self that you can guide? What is one tiny problem you are now uniquely equipped to solve? How can the very struggle that got you here become a roadmap for someone else? When you shift from what can I get to what can I give, you do not just do different things. You become a different person. You become a conduit, not a container. And a conduit is never lonely, because it is defined by its connection to a source and an outlet. It is part of a flow. Your success was in the process of filling your container. The loneliness is the container being full. Contribution is the act of pouring out, so you can be filled again with purpose, connection, and impact. Lesson 2. Seek resonance, not just reflection. In the climb, you sought mirrors. People who reflected your ambition, your hunger, your drive. These relationships were based on alignment. We are going in the same direction. On the summit, you need something deeper. You need resonance. A mirror reflects your own image back at you. A resonant object, however, vibrates at the same fundamental frequency. It doesn't just show you your surface, it shares your essential note. The loneliness you feel is, in part, a hunger for resonance. You are tired of seeing your own ambition reflected in every conversation. You crave being heard, not just acknowledged. You crave being understood, not just admired. This requires vulnerability. It requires you to speak the unspeakable. To say to a carefully chosen other, "It's strange up here. It's lonely." The risk is rejection, or worse, misunderstanding. But the reward is the moment the other person's eyes soften, and they say, "Me too." Or even, "Tell me more." That is the sound of resonance. It is the antidote to transactional loneliness. Stop networking. Start soul building. Look for the people who ask you, "How are you?" and wait for the real answer. Look for the people whose success has also left them quiet and thoughtful. Create a circle, not of contacts, but of confidants. A council, not for your business, but for your being. This is not about quantity. It is about quality. One resonant connection is worth 100 reflective ones. It assures you that you are not a ghost on your own peak, that there are others tending their own quiet fires, and you can sometimes share the warmth. Lesson 3. Embrace the sacred pause. Your entire nervous system is wired for pursuit. The chase releases dopamine. The finish line releases a burst of serotonin, and then it's gone. And your system crashes. It begs for another hit of the chase. This is the biological hook of the achievement cycle. Success loneliness is often this chemical crash, misinterpreted as an existential crisis. You must retrain your system. You must insert between achievement and new goal, a phase that feels alien, irresponsible, and terrifying. The sacred pause. This is a deliberate, non-negotiable period of not chasing. It is a season of integration, of digestion. Your mind, body, and soul need time to metabolize the victory, to convert the raw material of the achievement into the living tissue of wisdom. What does the sacred pause look like? It is silence. It is long walks with no podcast. It is journaling without an agenda. It is re-engaging with a forgotten hobby for pure pleasure, not for a side hustle. It is sitting with the question, "Who am I now?" without immediately rushing to answer it. It feels like you are wasting time. You are not. You are doing the most important work of your life. You are listening for the whisper of what comes next, a whisper that can only be heard when the roar of ambition has died down. The loneliness will howl at you during this pause. It will tell you you're falling behind. It will itch in your fingers, begging you to check your email, to set a new target. Your discipline now is not the discipline of effort, but the discipline of restraint. The courage to be still. In this stillness, the loneliness slowly changes. It loses its sharp, anxious edge. It becomes a spaciousness, a solitude. And in that solitude, your true self, the self that exists beyond its accomplishments, begins to speak. Lesson 4. Reintegrate the parts you left behind. The climb demanded specialization. It required you to be a blade, sharp, focused, single-minded. To get to the top, you likely had to suppress, ignore, or sacrifice other parts of yourself. The playful part. The creative part with no commercial aim. The part that connects deeply with family. The spiritual part. The part that simply is. Success loneliness is, in part, the grief of those abandoned parts. They are in the shadow of your achievement, waving, trying to get your attention. The summit is not just a place to look forward to the next peak. It is a vantage point from which you can look back and see the entire path. You can see the pieces of yourself you left at various base camps. It is time to send for them. This is the work of reintegration. It is making your identity whole again. Did you leave your love of painting behind in college because it wasn't practical? Did you bury your sensitivity under a layer of aggressive negotiation? Did you trade deep friendships for a broad network? The loneliness is a homesickness for your whole self. Start small. One abandoned fragment at a time. Buy a sketchbook and make terrible, joyful drawings. Read poetry, not business books. Spend a day with an old friend with the phones off, talking about anything except work. Allow yourself to feel vulnerable, to be silly, to be unproductive. You are not going backwards. You are gathering all the resources of your soul for the next, more profound phase of your journey. A blade is useful for cutting a path. But to build a home on the new ground, you need more than a blade. You need your hands, your heart, your history. Lesson 5. Transition from goal setting to practice building. Your life has been structured by goals. Finish line after finish line. This is a powerful, external structure. But it is a brittle one. When the finish line is crossed, the structure vanishes, and you feel the existential vertigo of success loneliness. The solution is to build a new internal structure. One that does not disappear when an objective is met. This is the shift from goal setting to practice building. A goal is a destination. A practice is a path you walk daily, regardless of the destination. A goal is write a best-selling book. A practice is I am a person who writes with integrity for 1 hour every morning. A goal is get to $10 million in revenue. A practice is I lead with clarity and compassion in every interaction. A goal is external validation. A practice is internal identity. Goals are about having. Practices are about being. When you build your life around practices, you are never done. You are never left in the empty space after the achievement. Because the achievement was never the point. The point is the person you become through the daily practice. Your identity is no longer the one who hit the target, but the one who embodies these principles. This identity is stable. It is not subject to market crashes, bad reviews, or the fading of applause. On the lonely summit, you ask, now what? If your life is built on goals, you have no answer but to find a new goal. If your life is built on practices, your answer is clear, I continue my practices. I write. I lead. I learn. I serve. I connect. The scenery has changed, but the path continues. The loneliness diminishes because you are never stranded. You are always in motion on your own path, not just waiting at a finish line. So we come to the application. To the what do I do on Monday? It starts with a single brave act of reframing. The next time you feel that hollow echo in your chest, that is this it? Feeling, I want you to pause. I want you to put your hand on your heart, and instead of saying, I am so lonely, I want you to say, I am in transition. Say it out loud. I am in transition. Because that is the truth. You are not broken. You are not ungrateful. You are not a fraud. You are a human being who has outgrown a previous version of yourself. The loneliness is the growing pain. Your call to action is not to achieve more. It is to integrate more. This week, choose one of the 5 lessons and take a concrete, small step. Contribution. Find one person you can help with a specific piece of your hard-won knowledge. Do it anonymously. Resonance. Have one conversation where you share a real feeling, not just an accomplishment. Ask a real question. Listen. Sacred pause. Block 2 hours of absolute, unproductive quiet. No agenda. Just be. And watch the anxiety rise and fall. Reintegration. Do one thing you loved before the world told you who you should be. Do it badly. Do it joyfully. Practice building. Define one core practice that defines who you want to be, not what you want to have. Do it for one day. Then another. This is how you build your bridge from the lonely summit to the connected, meaningful plateau that awaits. Not by leaping, but by laying one stone of new understanding, one stone of brave action at a time. They never told you about the success loneliness because they couldn't. It is a secret that must be lived to be understood. It is the hidden chapter in every great story, the chapter that comes after the crowd stops cheering. The chapter where the hero must learn to live with the dragon slain, in a kingdom that suddenly feels too quiet. This chapter is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your deepest story. The story of who you are when no one is applauding. The story of what you build with the wealth you've earned. The story of the wisdom you distill from the struggle you've endured. This loneliness is not your tomb. It is your cocoon. Stop fighting the stillness. Stop rushing to fill the space with noise. The message you have been waiting for, the purpose that will make all of this make sense, is not found in the next chase. It is found in the quiet you are so desperate to escape. So tend to your quiet. Listen to your loneliness. It is not the enemy. It is the midwife of your next, truest self. You reached the summit to prove you could. You will move through the loneliness to discover who you are. And that is a story worth telling. The lonely summit is not your final destination. It is your highest vantage point. Now, what will you build in the clear air you fought so hard to breathe?